First, there's Einstein's theory of general relativity. It suggests that space, matter, and time all came into existence. It wasn't, and then it was. There's the second law of thermodynamics, which suggests that the universe is running out of energy. However, if the universe was infinite, then it would have run out of energy a long time ago. There's Edwin Hubble. He discovered that the universe is indeed expanding in 1929 at the Wilson Observatory in California. In addition, Alan Guth, Alexander Vlinkin, and Arvin Bohr demonstrated that any universe that is in a state of cosmic expansion on an average cannot be infinite in the past and must have had a beginning. As a matter of fact, Alexander Vlinkin, the professor of physics and director of the Institute of Cosmology at Tufts University, said this. He said, "It is said that an argument is what convinces reasonable men, and a proof is what it takes to convince even unreasonable men. With the proof now in place, cosmologists can no longer hide behind the possibility of a past eternal universe. There is no escape. They have to face the problem of a cosmic beginning." That came from his book, Many Worlds in One. P.C.W. Davies, the British physicist, says this: "The coming into being of the universe, as discussed in modern science, is not just a matter of imposing some sort of organization on a previously incoherent state, but literally the coming into being of all physical things from nothing. Everything that has a beginning has a cause. The universe has a beginning. Therefore, the universe has a cause." The question becomes, what is this cause, and what can we know about this cause? Anthony Kenny from Oxford says, "A proponent of the Big Bang Theory, at least if he is an atheist, must believe that the universe came from nothing and by nothing." So if we are to examine the universe and how it came into existence, not specifically the details, but the general observations that we've just made, we can know this about the cause. First, we can know that it is timeless. Second, we can know that it is transcendent, that is beyond or outside of the universe. We can know that it is non-physical and immaterial. We can know that it is unimaginably powerful since it brought the universe into existence. And last, we can know that it is personal. We can know these things because it takes a timeless being to create time. It takes a transcendent being outside the universe to create the universe. A cause cannot cause itself. It takes a non-physical or immaterial being because that thing must have created all that is material and physical. And we know that it is personal because the cause has existed for eternal. It is timeless. And it takes a personal choice to create the effect when the effect is temporal. Sounds like a great definition for God. My second argument goes like this. If God does not exist, then objective morality does not exist. Objective morality does, however, exist. Therefore, God exists. Let's go through this one piece at a time. If God does not exist, then objective moral values do not exist. By objective moral values, I mean those values that exist independent of whether someone believes them or not. If atheism is true, we are simply advanced animals. And if we are animals, then where is morality? What is murder? What are other things that we would generally consider to be morally wrong? When animals kill each other for any purpose, we don't consider it murder. We don't even barely pay attention. Richard Dawkins, an evolutionary biologist and atheist, in his book, The God Delusion, admits there are no morals without God. The job the atheist has is to provide an objective standard upon which objective morals can exist. I can't think of anything that could be provided. Perhaps Marvin has thought of some things that I have not. The second part of the argument, objective moral values do indeed exist. There are several reasons we can know this. Number one, it is undeniable. Because when you say objective moral values do not exist, that is itself an objective moral statement. Therefore, it is self-contradictory. It does not stand up to the rule of logic. Second, our reaction to injustice. I want you to imagine for a moment that you are a student in an ethics class. And in this ethics class, you are given the job of writing a paper about ethics. You choose to write about relative morality. In this paper, you say things like there is no just and unjust, no fair and unfair. There is simply preference. When you hand the paper in, you've done a good job, you've used the right number of sources, it's the right length. You put it in a nice, beautiful blue folder. It's a really nice folder. And you hand it into the professor, and he grades it. When he's finished grading it, he hands it back. You open up the cover of the blue folder, and you see on the first page a big, giant F. And you think to yourself, wait a minute, I worked really hard on this paper. I used the correct sources, I had people proofread it, I used correct language. How come I got an F? So you approach the professor and you say, Professor, why did I get an F? And the professor suggests that as he read your paper, he realized that there is no just and unjust, no fair and unfair, there is no morally good or evil. And since there is none of these things, it's a matter of preference, and I don't like blue folders. That would be ridiculous, unfair, unjust, and that would be your response. And I think rightly so. However, the professor was right. If there is no moral objectives, if there is no fair and unfair, just and unjust, then he has every right to give an F because he doesn't like the color blue. In addition to this, without moral laws, there would be no human rights. That is to say, humans would have no intrinsic value. And yet it is recognized, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights by the United Nations, Article 1 says, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. The Declaration of Independence also recognizes human intrinsic value and rights. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If there is no God, if we are simply advanced animals, then why should we have rights? We must ground this somewhere. If you are to consider the Holocaust and the atrocities that took place, if there is no objective morality, then why should we condemn Hitler? What makes Hitler any different from, say, Mother Teresa? What makes evil any different from good? What makes harm any different from help? In addition, social reform. When we consider social reform, we might think of William Wilberforce, who fought the slave trade. But if there is no objective moral standard, then why fight the slave trade? On what moral grounds did he fight people who were enslaving others? On what moral grounds did Martin Luther King fight racism? And on what moral grounds would you fight for or against anything that has any moral or human rights cause, like abortion, homosexuality, wars, climate change, whatever your cause is? On what moral grounds would you fight for or against those things? In addition, Marvin himself, in his cameo appearance in the documentary The Journey of Life, said we, meaning atheists, consider ourselves moral and ethical. I would be curious to know what you meant by that, Marvin. Therefore, God exists. If God does not exist, there are no objective moral values. Yet there are objective moral values. And we know this intuitively. We would all fight against rape, murder, pedophilia, torturing babies for fun. Therefore, God